Welcome folks, this is United GMRS channel owner, also with a couple of other owners and moderators. This is for the United GMRS. I'm WQZD787. My name is Brandon, and you can see I'm also a ham radio operator. This is a WX4PCS is my ham call. What I'm going to show you today is something very interesting on how to link HT radios, which is the little handheld radios. Where did mine go? Radios like this. Now this one's a DMR radio, so this one I'm not going to link in. But little radios like this. Little radios like this right here is this little UV5R. Now we're going to link in a frequency with another UV5R. I'll show you what I'm talking about. See this? That's the cooling fan in front of it. I've got holes drilled into it. I've got these lines. I'm fixing to make a manufactured line. I'm fixing to actually modify it, and I'm going to show you how to modify it. You see, I've got two cables here. The biggest problem with when you interface directly with Vox is that the transmitter stays transmitting with two cables plugged into the radio with auxiliary cables. So to avoid this problem, I'm going to simply show you how to do this. Now I'm going to get some stuff ready here on my desk, and I'm going to walk you through how to do this. So you folks out there that want to link radios to Zello, to the United GMRS channel, I'm going to show you how to link HT radios into the Zello channel. Now, I've gotten a good, I'm about 20-30 feet in the air on the inside antenna. I've gotten about a mile, 2 miles from an inside antenna on low power. That's like 1 watt, and I'm in a highly wooded area. So, and since then I have put in a more amplified radio running 45 watts. So that particular radio is on an external antenna at about 25 feet to the top of the antenna, and it is a commercial grade antenna. So, and it's on the 462 measurement. So let's get started, and I'm going to show y'all how to make a cable that does not interfere with transmitting automatically when it should not. I'm going to pause this for a second, and we're going to get our stuff together. Okay, I'm back. That took approximately about 2 minutes to get everything together. I should have had it already together, but I'm going to show you just what you need to get this job done. Now, these radios, when you do Vox, you cannot have them sitting on charge in the charge deck. Let me make that clear. You have to unplug the charge from the charge deck, but you can still use the charge deck as a radio stand holder, which is great, works great that way. So, let me point this out to you. This here is a stereo adapter, okay? But this right here is the smaller point. This is not the standard point. This goes into the speaker side of the handheld radio. And I think this is the, if I'm not mistaken, the 2.5 millimeter jack. And this cable here is the 3.5. Let me show y'all the difference. I'm actually going to use my cup here to hold that for you. If you look at the difference between the two, if I can get them both on the camera, you see the difference? It's a big difference. And if you look at the ends, they're different as well. You might not can see that all that good, but they are different, and it really matters. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you piece by piece on how to modify these radios, these cables, so that you can better link your HT radio to your Zello channel. Now, this particular linking, when you do this, it needs to be your input frequency needs to be your receive frequency, the one that's on the display. Then when the radio transmits, then that needs to be the output frequency, like a repeater. It's totally reverse of how you access a repeater. This is literally the repeater setup on the handheld. So it's totally different. Instead of a positive offset, it's negative. So you put in 467, and then the rest of your digits, whichever pair you're using for GMRS. And then you negative that to 462 point whatever your matching pair is. So now this does not mean that you have to use 462-700. You can use any one of the GMRS frequencies, and this is what we're going to show you today on how to do this proper linking. I know I'm rambling, but I want y'all to understand thoroughly what is to be done. Now, the computer part of the linking session is kind of depends on your computer and your volume levels on the Vox settings, and that's a little tricky. You have to play around with that. But for the first part, this here is a 3.5 male jack. I got this at Radio Shack, and I've actually got two of these because it takes two of them to do this. So what I'm going to do, and that is shielded. If you noticed, it said shielded audio cable. Now these cables here have a red and black cable inside. And watch this not be what I just said. I've had that happen before. Okay. Now, what you're going to do is this wire has a ground wire in it. And just like I stated on the website, that you cannot plug, let's say for instance, you want to plug that right there, and then plug that into the radio, and then plug this one right there in the radio as well. You got it plugged in like, let me show you. Okay, so here's your speaker jack right up here. Okay, the smaller one goes right there. Okay, now you take this one, you plug it right there. Okay, green cable for your speaker, red cable for your transmit. That way you know red is usually in transmit form. Now, when you do this, I'm showing you this so when you go to hook it to your computer, you know what to do. Now, the little sound cards, the little USB sound cards, you can hook directly to your computer's factory sound card if you choose to. Use line in for your audio coming into the computer. Use your headphone jack for your line going out, because you don't want to send too much volume to your radio. Now you can adjust that inside the computer as well. But as you notice on here, there is a headset and a microphone. Okay, you have a headset and a microphone on the radio. These hook up completely opposite of each other. So if I was to take the microphone of the radio, I would put the microphone of the radio inside the headphone jack of the sound card. Then I would do the exact same thing, but at an opposite position. I would put the, sorry about that, I just transmitted my radio. That's what I'm saying, because the ground is looped. That's why you got to take out the ground, because it will literally do that. And you don't want it doing that. And it ain't even plugged into a computer, and it still did it. So, So this goes in here, and that goes to the comes from the speaker of the handheld radio. Okay, so now let's take this and break this down. I wanted to show you just what it does if just connecting the cables to the sound card, it will transmit. And then we're going to avoid that. So we're going to disconnect this. And are you wondering why I've got yellow tape on my antenna? That's just to identify which radio I have, what frequency set up I've got. That's all that is. It ain't nothing to do with fire, volunteer, law enforcement, nothing like that. It has nothing to do with that, literally. So, disconnect all these cables. I'm doing this so you see how I'm doing it, exactly how I'm doing it. That way you know what to do, how long it takes, what to expect, and when you're doing it. And I'm not these kind of guys that will just pause in the middle of something and just do the job, and there you are, you get bits and pieces, and you don't get every piece of information you need. I'm going to give you every little piece of information, or at least try to. Now, I have goofs here and there, but that's the way things are. Okay, we got the two cables. We're going to spread out long. We're going to fold them directly in half. That way you know you have plenty on each side. Now, I have seen people, cut them about right in here, and, cut them about right in here, I mean, you can do that, but you're limiting your workspace if you do that. I mean, it's totally fine if you want to do it right there, but I don't personally like doing it right there. That's just it's not a good thing. And this particular link here is actually going to be a transceiver link uptown at my office. And this will be able to transmit and receive just like this link is here. So, and that radio is a low power radio as well. So, take both of them cables in right here. Okay, now I have 4 ends, okay, which is what I'm supposed to have. Alright, now, when you do this, see, now I have like 4 individual cables. Alright, now, what we're going to do, this little guy here, I think I got it at Home Depot or Walmart. I don't remember where I got it at, but it's also a flip side. It's got a crimper on this side, stripper and cutter on this side. I got it pretty cheap, and works great, especially in a house when you're doing small projects and you don't want to go out to your main toolbox to get something. Works wonderful. Alright, now on this, what you want to do is you want to take the outer coating off. That's the point of stripping the cable. Now you got to be real careful. Now see how I'm doing this? I'm opening up and closing as I strip. Okay. Then I just kind of grab on the outside like that. I don't actually cut into it. I just grab it. And then I pull back. Okay. Now, as you notice, there's an outer ground cable right here. This is the ground cable that has to be removed. Okay. The black and the red, what you will do is you'll wire the black cable back to black, red cable back to red. I'm going to show y'all this literally because there's a little tricky process as to getting these things connected, and you'll see why in just a minute. So therefore I'm going to just go ahead and cut that ground out because I don't need it, not for this project. Not to mention it causes interference in the link system. So now I just have a red and black wire inside the red coating wire, and both wires you'll have to do the exact same thing on both transmit and receive. Okay, now These wires here are so small that you have to be very, very careful when you're stripping these, okay? Because if you use this very last one, a lot of times it will not strip. But this one actually did. Some cables are so tiny that I've actually had to do this right here in the cutter and just hold it a certain amount of pressure and then pop it off. I've had to deal with cables that tiny. And believe me, those ain't no fun. Okay. So now I have these two, this pair stripped. Now I've got to strip the other pair. Now I'm only going to do this on one cable. I'm only doing this video on one cable because it's the exact same thing on the other cable. So there's no sense in making a double video. But this is literally what you do. And you see I'm working on the 20-minute time too. I'm just taking my time. So I want y'all to know, oops, I'm using the hole that's too large. See? Get the chatter and then I just track what I'm doing. Okay. Go ahead and separate your ground out of it. Alright. So that's that. And we're going to separate this ground just like normal. Now if you want to get real fancy with this, I mean real fancy, and do inline crimps, they work great. Just don't crimp it down too much and break your cable. I have seen that happen. And then you'll have one side, then you'll have what you was trying to avoid to begin with. So, go ahead and strip these. Just lock my pliers. Alright, I'll tell you a little trick. When you are doing cables like this, that's so tiny, go ahead and twist the individual wires to make them stronger. This makes the actual braided wire stronger to withstand pressure of the crimp. And you don't have to tape these up if you don't want to. I taped mine up just because, you know, it's just easier to keep stuff together, especially when I've got a bazillion cables that are laying everywhere. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm looking for my tray, looking through here to find, and tell you a little tip. These little inline connectors that's solid straight, try not to use those. They do work, but it's hard to find where the little piece of metal is in there, because there's a little piece of metal in there that you got to crimp down on. It's hard to find that. And if you don't, you just crimp the plastic down. You won't crimp no metal down what's trying to connect your cable. So try not to use these if you can help it. I use them because, you know, I can pretty well feel for it. But try to use these right here that's got the little beveled looking ends, little fatter ends on there, because then the inside of that is where your metal is. And plus it goes over the outer coating of the cable easier if you're using a larger cable. Okay, so let's get started. Now this is the crimper side of the plier assembly. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to do this on an inline type style. So what you do, now I could go this way and crimp both of them like this. I could do that, but I'm not going to do it that way. Just because I'm not. And the main reasons why I'm not is the more wire I've got twisted together, when I go to crimp down, the wire is stronger. I do it for strength. It's not necessarily for beauty, because if I did it for beauty, I'd go long ways. I'm doing it for strength. Now, with that being said, I can slip this joker on here. There's no wire exposed on the back side, and I've got black to black. Yeah, you have to push pretty good. Now, this also leaves an empty hole on this side. Be very, very careful if you're going to use this hole for anything else, because what you do here has to be the same on the other radio that you've got hooked up, because remember, you've got sound going in both directions, and you do not want to backfeed an input to an output. It says you don't want to do that. Now, if you're a little bit confused on what I told you earlier, as long as it's a direct path with no interruption, says it works great. But when you add another component in line with that, that's when you have problems. And I've seen people, they will split off stuff, they'll put Y's in there, and it don't work. And they come to me asking, what did I do wrong? And I'll simply tell them, you got too much on your cable line, and it's only for one unit. You're not really supposed to put multiple units on one configuration. It's too hard on the wiring, making a diagram. Not good on your radios either. It certainly ain't good on the sound card in your computer. Now we have these cables right here connected together. This set is ready to go. Now, if I go ahead and connect the other cable, it's going to take me another 20 minutes. But I'm not going to do that. I showed you how to do this. This is the microphone cable. You do the exact same thing to the other cable. And you plug in exactly how I told you on the starting off. Now, I need to show you on the computer how to, can y'all see my computer screen? I don't think you can. Okay, that'd be somewhat. Okay. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. Might channel invite or something down there. Update or something. As you can see right down here, I've got a green flag. For some reason, I've got a green flag. Okay, so what we're going to do, come up here to, I just need cables over here. Come up here to Tools. If you can't see what I'm doing, I'm clicking on Tools. Lord, that thing is literally not showing you what I'm doing. Okay. Okay. I'm going to click on Tools. I'm going to go to Options inside the Zello program. Okay, it comes up with this screen here. Now, this is where your voxing, your sound cards, and all that stuff play a role. Okay, right here, where it says trigger time MS, I've got 100. Where it says relax time, I've got 1500. Now, up here on activation threshold, I've got negative 30 dB. Make sure that you turn on the Vox hands-free. Deactivation threshold is at 30 dB. It's the exact same level. Now, that's what you have to do in order to get that to work. Now, very, very important information. The sound alerts, turn every one of them off. Come through here to uncheck every one of them boxes, because those cause interference. And you need to know that. And if you're running multiple Zello programs, and if you want to run multiple Zello programs, make sure that you have the allow multiple program right here selected. Now, let's find out what this green box is down here. Okay, somebody sent me a contact request. Okay. I don't normally let the link accept contact request. Don't know why. I guess I wasn't thorough on that information. Okay, so that's what it is, guys. That took 25 minutes to walk you through that. Now, I'm going to do another video on how to set up Zello. I don't know if I can do it on this computer because I've made a lot of accounts this month and it may say you can't do it. But I'm going to show you how to do it on my next video. This is WQZD 787 at United GMRS, also amateur radio WX4 PCS.